All right, welcome back, everybody. Meta Trends with Mark and Mike. Mike's going to join us a little late here. Boaz, for your edification, the Mike is an elected politician in Miami and gets called away on every once in a while when we're shooting these. So, what I want to know is, well, let me set you up. Let me give you some bona fides here. Vistage told me just in the latter part of last year that there's only 16 people on planet Earth who have done more presentations than me, and you're one of them. So the deal is, I actually saw you speak about 17 years ago and then about 12 years ago. And I was quoting you in my presentations. And then I quoted you what I quoted about you. And like you were very gracious about that sort of thing. So why don't you tell us the audience a little bit about what got you to where you are now, what's your background, and what are the things that you're kind of seeing for entrepreneurs?
Yes. Thank you, Mark. First, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm delighted.
Thank you.
My mother was in Poland, father from Austria. They both moved to Palestine in 1935 as pioneers to become, you know, not the beginners of a new country. I was born in 1947. My birth certificate actually says Palestine. Israel became a country of Maine of 1948. So lived in Israel till I was 9. We immigrated to America, lived in the Midwest in Tulsa, Oklahoma for many years. That's where I went to college, University of Tulsa, then California for a long time. So moved to Dallas 5 years ago, and that's where I am now. Newly married, just got married a few months ago.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. My daughter lives here in Dallas. My son is in San Diego. And my background, I used to produce television infomercials. Those half-hour shows to get you out of bed at 1 in the morning to buy something you didn't think you needed. Produced network television shows and radio and television news. I'm on advertising agency. And for the last 21 years or so, I've been a speaker for Vistage. And in Dallas, I'm also a carpenter and a builder. We buy houses, fix them up, and sell them.
So but you kind of man after my own heart in that department also. I'm a woodworker, so I do like cabinetry and moldings and things like that. So I'm curious about a couple of things here. Tulsa, Oklahoma. When I think epicenter of Jewish faith, I'm thinking Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That was culture shock. The reason we went to Tulsa, the reason we went to Tulsa is that's where the uncle was who sponsored us to become citizens. And so he had moved from New York. He was originally from Austria, where my father was from. And he moved to Tulsa to work for American Airlines, their big maintenance base. The only thing I knew, Mark, about the western part of the U.S. as a 9-year-old in Israel, the John Wayne movies I saw over there with the Hebrew subtitles. He would come over a hill, see a bunch of Indians, and say, "Oy vey, pilgrim." So that's all I knew. Very out of place.
So you're one of the few that would actually get this. So picture I was in Dothan, Alabama, doing a presentation, and I used the word chutzpah, and they were like, "That sounds Jewish." I'm like, "Well, you're not wrong." All right, so try saying things like Zeigezunt or any other type of salute in Yiddish. It's like doesn't go over well.
Indeed, there's actually a town in Alabama called Boaz, Alabama. So my wife and I are threatening to go there and start collecting taxes. I mean, really.
Sounds good. All right, so but your background is you've been doing some crazy number of presentations for Vistage, like 2,000 or so. The So what in the first portion of the podcast, we like to talk about like helping the entrepreneur market. So someone like Noah's age, who's in his early 20s, thinking about maybe owning a business down the road. Like you've been exposed to so many businesses in Vistage. I've been exposed to so many businesses in Vistage. And frankly, what's kind of odd and rare about me is I've actually studied Vistage members now for 17 years. I actually know how valuable it is to be a Vistage member in dollar figures. So how much more Vistage members have outgrown their non-Vistage member counterparts. The catch is for entrepreneurs, I think it's something like less than 0.5% of any company actually makes it north of 6 million in revenue. So the majority of them start out smaller. So just based on your experience, if you were starting out today, what are the avenues that you would be looking at? What sort of wisdom have you accumulated that would grease the skids for something like that?
I would get a college degree in these two books.
Think and Grow Rich and how to win friends and influence people. I remember this from your presentation. You're a huge Dale Carnegie fan and Napoleon Hill.
You know, Mark, this is one of the 10 all-time best-selling books in the history of the world. On the bestseller list every year since 1935. In my opinion, the best personal development, people skills, human relations, leadership, getting along with other people book ever written. Everything written since then is a derivation of this one way or another. And then Think and Grow Rich has made more millionaires than any other book in history. So I think the big mistake most people make when they start a business is they just start a business. They should first work on themselves
Mm,
and make sure they got the right attitude and the right understanding about what makes a business successful. I mean, this is about the greatest successes in business in the last century. What do those people have in common? They all had something in common. Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, the Wright brothers, they all had something in common, and it's all illustrated in that book. But here's the problem. People who read these kinds of books are reading too many of them one time only and not internalizing anything.
mm, interesting.
I once met somebody, Mark, who'd read 50 different personal development books. 50, 5-0. He was no more successful than the person who read none because he didn't internalize anything. So whether it's one of these or another one, I suggest reading at least 3 times when it becomes a part of you. I thought these 2 books were so valuable that years ago I read each of these books once a month, every month, for 5 years.
Oh wow.
I've read these books 60 times each. Now they're a part of me. So I think that's where people go wrong. Let's just go start a business. Let's go get some money. Let's just start selling a product. And they're mentally not prepared at all.
Well
How
said.
about mentally getting prepared?
Can I kind of follow up on that? Give a little fodder to your theory. All right. So I went to a college where if you could roll a joint left-handed, you were dean's list. And they pulled me aside after 6 months and told me I was one of the 25 worst students in the college. And I was like, percent? And they're like, "No," right? So it's like so what I realized was if I took the reading material to the library and rewrote it longhand in pen, I could beat the professor on their own test. So the way I do it is I don't read the same book 60 times. I'll read the same book up to 7, but I rewrite it up to 5.
Well,
And then what ends up happening is I know the information in the book better than the author does.
yeah, yeah, you're internalizing it. And majority of people don't. You don't realize that their attitude and what they have between their ears is more important than any amount of money they're going to get to start a business. I don't care how great that business is. They're not really in the business of the business. They're in the people business. The product is just a byproduct of them working with people. But the majority of people have no concept about how to deal with people, how to get along with people, and how to make people feel important. Everybody needs to feel important. And the reason companies have people come in the front door and people leaving out the back door is not because of a money issue or their boss. Those people didn't feel important.
Mm.
And so they're a revolving door. We need to realize people need to feel important,
Yeah.
and most don't.
So in the book I was just reading on the flight back from Minneapolis last night, it was talking about how even like the impersonal businesses are starting to dabble with the personal. Meaning like they're like, let's say you have a subscription to Netflix or whatever, they're trying to figure out, can they actually increase engagement, get people to use it? Because although subscription style businesses are ideal for creating valuation, significant valuation increase, like because what'll happen is it won't trade for a multiple of EBITDA, it trades for a multiple of revenue. It could be 1,000% increase in overall valuation. What they're realizing is it all comes back to engagement. Will they stay subscribed to something? And then can you make the person feel special? Like this one, I think it's called Bark Box. It's like treats for pets. When they find out that a pet died or a pet's pet died, like sometimes you have like we have two rescue dogs. So the deal is that if one of them dies, the other one's gonna be out of her mind, right? So what they do is they actually find out like for their subscribers whose pet died, and they send them a special gift. to kind of assuage some of the grief that they're experiencing because they lost a companion.
Mm,
And they even do it for the other dog. So they have a special treat gift for those type of things while they deal with their grief, you know?
that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, there's a
No,
couple of things I find with entrepreneurs is what most people don't understand is business owners, they didn't necessarily start out saying we need to build a business. The better way to do it is, as far as I can tell, is to find some type of demand in the marketplace. Find something that's not right and then fix it and then go do it again and do it again, do it again, do it again, and do it again. But I think this is one of the dilemmas. Like I was having a conversation with a young woman recently, and she's in her early 20s, not realizing what men really are, not realizing the differences between men and women, that sort of thing. And she's kind of burdening her relationships with expectations. I said, this is the ultimate dilemma for human beings, especially around procreation. If you are, what you are attracted to is the opposite of you because it actually makes for hardy children. Like your biome will be so different. Believe it or not, Boaz, the women's sensitivity to smells is so much stronger than men's that while she's dating someone, she can actually smell the genetic makeup of that man and then be able
oh,
to figure out that's how women will say, like, there was no chemistry or there was chemistry. What it really is that her sense of smell is picking up whether they'll produce a hardy offspring or weak offspring. And if she's picking up that they'll produce weak offspring, she says there's no chemistry. Man might be perfectly attractive, but not for her, that kind of a thing. That's how wild it gets. So the dilemma is with young people, especially young entrepreneurs, is you have to go through a certain level of maturity in order to be a good spouse. And by the time you do that, you're no longer fertile. Right? So
mhm.
it's like there's a dilemma here. So now when you get with somebody, you're attracted to the opposite of what you are, which makes for a terrible long-term relationship, but great sex and hearty offspring. So it's this
Mm.
weird, twisted, complicated thing. I think we could even take that analogy and overlay it onto businesses. So why are they getting into business? Is their leadership ladder leaning against the right wall? That type of thing.
You just hit a point right there. Your main word you just said, Mark. Why? Why? The bottom line of Think and Grow Rich, he says, what do you want? What do you really want? What do you want 5 years from today in your life? So when someone starts a business, they need to identify a why. Why are you doing this? And if the answer is, I want to be successful, that's nothing. That doesn't mean anything specific. Why do you want why do you want to be successful? So I can make money. Why? So I can have a lot of it. Why? What are you going to do with that money? A reason. When the why is exciting enough, the how doesn't matter.
Oh,
But
I'm with you on that. 100%.
most people have never identified on paper a why. Let me give you an example of something. So Napoleon Hill says you've got to identify a why. Create a goals card, something like this. It has positive affirmations on one side and a reward on the other side. Napoleon Hill said there's got to be a reward. Why am I going to start a business and work so hard and be so frustrated for so long? Why? There's got to be a reason. And it can't be just want to be happy and successful. That doesn't mean anything. You know, being
Oh, it's too
happy and
vague. Yeah.
yeah, being happy and successful to a hobo is a dry place under a bridge at night when it's raining. To somebody else, it's a nice home in a nice neighborhood in Dallas. There is a difference between those two levels. So years ago, and I was sent by a Vistage company to speak for their event on the island off of Belize. This is a
Wow.
picture from that island. And I was so intrigued by that that I decided one day I'd bring somebody special back there. And so I was divorced in 2010 for many, many years. And on August 19th of 2023, I met Miss Judy, who's now my wife. We got married November 3rd, and November 5th, we were in Belize walking on this beach.
Nice.
That was a reason that I kept in front of me a picture all those years. And then we went there. That is a reason. You got to have a reason because starting a business is going to be awful and sometimes it's going to be so depressing, so upsetting at certain times. And if you don't have a reason for you doing all this, then it's easy to quit. Well,
Well,
what the heck?
let me lend some fodder to that too, because I think actually, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast. I'm not positive. Noah can let me know about this because I don't know about you, but I speak so often. It's like I don't remember what I said last week or yesterday. Picture, I had a client that we were discussing why we went to the moon. So, and what it comes down to, most people want to ask them that question, especially engineers. They'll talk about like the kind of ego-driven Everest argument because it was there, that type of thing. The real truth is, in World War One, if you ruled the sea, you ruled the world. So the battleship was the pinnacle of weapons technology. In World War II, if you ruled the sky, you ruled the world. So the aircraft carrier became the pinnacle of weapons technology, and battleships were just future anchors. They were just ready to be sunk, especially because of the aircraft carriers, the fighters, and all that stuff. So Sputnik goes up in 57. What the hell do you think Eisenhower's thinking? The Russians could rain down missiles on us from space. So if you give scientists a strong enough why like that, they'll figure out the how. How I know that is one of my clients designed the lunar module. And so
Mm.
and that guy, man. So how I found out about that, this was an engineering professor at Queensborough Community College. And he lived in Sutton Place in Manhattan. And I used to meet him in Queens for dinner after he was done teaching his classes on his way home. We would meet for dinner at a diner in Queens, Fresh Meadows. And so I'm sitting there digging into my chicken parm, and I said, "Yeah, I just watched Apollo 13." And he goes, "Well, I designed a lunar module." And I was like, "What?" Let's let's sat there for the next 2 hours as he regaled me with the stories behind it. They were so creative in the solutions that they had to come up with. They basically just repeated things they found in nature, and some of them it was like the guy who was heading up the whole thing was basically Asperger's slash autistic, but a genius. And he actually figured out, like, let me give you one quick story here. He was feeding his son, who was an infant at the time. Food fell off, and the food sat for a while, turned rock hard, and it gave him an idea. Because if the lemon crash landed on the moon, and it would have taken 2 weeks to send up a rescue party. Well, you can condense air enough that that's no big deal, but food was an issue. So where would they put it in the LEM? Space was at a premium. So he figured out he like this hard rocky aftermath of food on the floor gave him an idea. He crushed cornflakes, pulverized cornflakes, mixed it with oil and milk, and baked it into baking sheets. They cut holes in it, and it was the instrument panel to the LEM. So if you got hungry, you could just snap off a piece of veneer and eat it.
Wow.
It was like cramming food into the crevices of the LEM. And that was
I
just
mean,
one situation. Like, I was floored by all the stories behind it. But the idea is, if you give people a strong enough why, they'll figure out the how.
yeah. Yeah. And then something else that people can do when they start a business that is so inexpensive but can be so productive. Let me show you something.
Sure.
This is so come out of style. It's brand new. The handwritten note card. The handwritten note card. I'll mention actually two things. Start with the handwritten note card, and then I'm going to go to video texts. Video texts? But the handwritten note cards have been, it's got to be done in a certain way. First of all, never use the automated service on the internet that supposedly makes it look like it's your handwriting. I see those a mile away, and it offends me.
Yeah, it's like an
I wa-
insincere.
I wasn't important enough for somebody to actually write a card to me. I had to push a button and had a machine write a card to me. I'm not developing a relationship with a machine. So you can go to CVS, Walmart, whatever, get some blank note cards. Design on the front, blank on the inside. Do not use note cards with your name or your company logo on them, because if I see one of those, I'm thinking, you have a bunch of those, don't you? You send them to everybody. But if I see that this started as a blank card, you must have gone out and bought this for me, Mark. So you start with a blank note card. One line on a handwritten note card is more touching than two paragraphs in an email. Well, you haven't seen my handwriting, Boaz. Okay, slow down. Print one line, first names only on the cards. And what I'm going to suggest people do when they're starting a business, start sending note cards to everybody you know. Have a business card, which goes behind the card in the envelope, not inside the card. That screams business. Just John Smith, XYZ company, name, phone number, have an address, make it look like a real company. Some people hand out business cards. You have no idea where they are in the universe. What if I want to buy something from you and you're across town? I may want to go there. So have a business card, and all you have to do is just start sending cards to everybody you know. Dear Mark, I was thinking about you today. Have a good day. Boaz. What? What? The business card. Oh, boy, I started a company that manufactures something. Just made an impact. And I might tell somebody about you. So here's the way this goes. One line on a handwritten note card, no phone number written inside the card. Your business card is behind the card in the envelope. No return address or your name anywhere on the card. I want to force them to open up your card immediately. Because if I see somebody's name and address on the back of a card, oh, it's from so-and-so at that company, I'll look at it later. Just lost it. So I want to force people to open up the card immediately. And if it goes to a company, you want to bypass the secretaries, put the word personal on the front. Makes it look like an invitation. I wouldn't open it up. And then, never meter these and never use one stamp. Get a variety of small denomination stamps, at least 11 stamps, that add up to the postage. Numerous stamps that add up to the postage, like this, or like this, or like this. People remember this
Totally.
because it's so unique.
Do you think that
So unique.
so let me challenge you on this. Do you think that that's kinda lost on the next generation?
Oh, totally. But if they want to build a business and you want to do it quick and easier, do this.
Yeah.
In my humble but most accurate opinion, this gets people's attention. They'll remember you. They'll show it to other people. Did you see this card, Mark, I got from somebody the other day? I mean, they found all kinds of stamps. I don't know where they got this. Former President Eisenhower, Thomas Jefferson's over here, and this is over here. And I'm showing this to other people. You were talking about the moon lander. Well, there's some stuff from space. Amazing. Amazing. And all they have to do is just say, I was thinking about you. That's all. That would shake people up. What if somebody looks at the business card and thinks, wait a minute, I know somebody that could do business with Mark. I might want to call them. These are seeds that can bring a crop that is huge. And the average person, the average young person wanting to start a company will never think about this and never give it the value that it has.
I even do a thing where when I see people writing down my notes and when I'm presenting, I'll go evaluate their handwriting, and I'll look at them and go, whenever I see someone with perfect box letter handwriting, I think someone's buried in their basement. I turn to the next person sitting next to them, and I go, "You might wanna give this person a little wide berth over here." We got a bag of lye in his trunk.
That is really funny. That is really funny. I get reports back. People are just astounded at these cards. And I cannot toss any of these that people send me. These are cards people send me. Why? Because I make certain assumptions. I get a card like this from you. I'm thinking, my goodness, Mark went out and bought a card. Then he went over to the post office, bought a bunch of stamps, and then he wrote a note in his own handwriting. Where's Mark to? Wait a minute. I think I know somebody that might want to do business with Mark. This to me is a gift. That's why I can't toss any of these. I cannot trash any of these cards. And I have piles of them, piles of cards people send me. I cannot toss a single one of these, not a single one. This is the cheapest, most productive marketing tool ever, ever. So I had
Awesome.
somebody that wanted to get a new client. He'd been trying to get into the door for several years. Nothing happens. Comes to my seminar. He started sending cards every week to the CEO of the other company with all the stamps. First week, he just sent a note, said, Dear Mr. Johnson, I was thinking about you and your company. Have a good day. Next week, Dear Mr. Johnson, it's fall, getting colder. Thinking about you and your company. Boaz. The third week, and I sent him on Thursdays, the first 2 weeks, so it would arrive on a Monday for sure. The third card, the third week, he sent on a Friday, so it would arrive on a Tuesday. His note said, "Dear Mr. Johnson, I know you were expecting my card yesterday. I apologize for the delay. It will not happen again." He kept sending the notes every week for 2 months. The CEO finally called him himself. "Are you the one sending me those cards every week? Yeah. You are just so silly. Get yourself over here." That silliness turned into a profit of over $6 million in the next 90 days.
So after I saw you speak in Manhattan, I went and did something similar. So I took now I think the mistakes I made was I used Vistage cards. Maybe I should have used different ones. But what I would do is I would write. I was in effect building a Vistage group on Long Island. So I would figure out all the people in the relative area that kind of made sense to have conversations with, and I'd send them a handwritten note, hand addressed, hand stamped, handwritten note that said, "Owning a business is on Long Island." Now, if it's a guy, I would say, is like having a bad girlfriend. It treats you great in the good days. What does it treat you like in the bad days? Question mark. Let me know when you're ready for a cup of coffee and a conversation. And
Yeah,
so I did that for 13 weeks in a row, and the response rate was phenomenal. There was always some CEO would call me up and go, "What are you sending me this stuff for?" And then what I
yeah,
would do is I would increase in the silliness of
yeah,
the actual stuff I would send to him. I'd send him like
yeah,
little feet, like, "Let me know when you're ready to kick so much ass your foot hurts," stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it definitely stood out. I definitely got calls on it. It actually worked, but maybe I could have even done a better job. You kinda caused me to raise my game in the hokiness aspect, you know?
There's another version that I promote also in connecting with people, and that's using FedEx envelopes. And this is an 11-week campaign. The thing about starting a business is you have to continuously keep your name in front of people. If you do one, two, three, or four, people forget. But if you do something for 11 weeks, like you were doing, people remember that. So the FedEx campaign goes something like this. You do a handwritten letter. "Dear Mr. Perot, with our background in producing widgets, I think we could be of service to your company. Give me a call." Handwritten letter. Inside a FedEx envelope. Send it by second day delivery. You save some money. Send it on a Thursday. It'll arrive Monday morning. They'll think you've done it overnight. The second week, no response. Same letter, but you rewrite it. You don't make copies because people can tell the difference. The third week, same letter, same letter. The fourth week, for those who don't respond, add a little yellow post-it note that says, "I'm sure glad you finally opened this." Or, in light with your silliness, "Aren't you impressed with the way I got your attention?" Nah, I don't like people who do that. The fifth or sixth week, do something creative. Do a 30-second video. "Hello, Mr. Perot. I'm the one sending you the Monday morning FedExes. My mother thought you might want to see I'm a really nice person. So here I am. Give me a call. Have a good day." And the only thing in the FedEx envelope is a flash drive. The seventh week, for those who've not responded, send each one of them a brand new baseball, little cardboard box. And the note says, "I'm the one sending you the Monday morning FedExes, and sooner or later we will play ball, so give me a call." So somebody in one of my Vistage groups that I spoke for, Mark, thought I had small thinking. So instead of sending the baseball, this is in St. Louis, a big insurance company, they sent a basketball by FedEx in the seventh week. Big magic marker letters on the basketball, "Give us a shot." And that company went after 10 potential new clients for 11 weeks. They got all 10 clients. And the
So I'm
CEO,
curious. So I asked you this when you were presenting in Manhattan, that I think that this kind of corny, hokey aspect works even better in New York than it does in, like, let's say, Omaha, Nebraska. Because I was just there, and everybody's corny and hokey in Omaha, Nebraska. Like, everyone in New York is an asshole on some level or other. So when you hit them with something so corny and hokey, it is such a curveball. They don't know
oh,
what
yeah,
to do with it.
yeah, exactly. So the CEO of the insurance company in St. Louis told me later, he said, "When I walked into the offices of those 10 CEOs that became new clients, they all had my basketball on their credenza." You
Yeah.
can't buy that kind of advertising, Mark. I don't care how much money you have.
All
You
right, so
can't
so all
buy
right, so
that.
let me spitball with you. I'm thinking, like, take they sell these silver Sharpies. it actually writes out in silver or gold or what have you. If you autograph the basketball based on your autograph, it would even make it corny and hokey, you know? So, all right,
You've
so
got
let
one
me,
right behind you up there. You got a base right there with somebody sitting
it's Pat Riley. So he matters more than I do on a basketball court. But the deal is
Yeah,
the it's the corny hokey aspect and curveball. So now I remember what I used to do is there was a special type of card that was a pop-up card. You opened it up and it turned into something, and then whatever it turned into, I would do a derivative of that and say, like, if it was, like a bear, it would pop up in a bear. It's like, "Are you ready for the next bear market?" And then
exactly.
like, if it was a bull, it was like, "Are you ready for the next bull market?" And I did 13 of them, increasing in the corny and hokiness of it and the
Absolutely.
wacky aspect of it for 13 weeks.
Absolutely. The 10th week of the 11-week campaign, you send one brand new shoe every Sunday.
Yeah, I remember the snap. Yeah, yeah.
You remember that? And the note says, I'm the one sending the money morning FedEx system. Now that I've got one foot in the door, call me. And then the 11th week, for those who've not responded, I'm the one sending the money morning FedEx system. I know what you were waiting for to call me. You were waiting for the other shoe to drop. It just did. Give me a call. Amazing. Some people get appointments just because somebody wants to meet the person doing it.
Oh, I did. So there was a guy who
Yeah,
was running, there's a I can't remember the name, Skyline, something like that. It was a CEO that had a franchise for, like, building banners and stuff like that for trade associations, and the guy literally called me, he says, "I just wanna talk to you because I want my salespeople to do exactly what you're doing because man, did you
exactly.
get my attention."
And if you're doing that to me, and I just want to meet you because I'm curious and I have no business for your new company, I'm starting getting to know you, and I'm thinking, what a creative person. Wait a minute, I know Harry over there who might be able to use your business. When
Okay.
is the last time anybody with a brand new business did this to me? Never.
All right, so let me jump in here because what we got to do is we got to move over to the other platform at the Middle Market Forum. Now we're going to be talking about how do we relate to this with Vistage members as opposed to startups. So the deal is that so please join us over there. So now we're on the U.S. Economic Forum and the Private Middle Market Forum. So see, what I'm curious about is there's one strategy to do this to introduce to new relationships. There's another strategy to kind of strengthen old ones. So it's like, so I've been killing it this last 12 months, just crazy amount of business, almost to the point where I really can't keep up with all of it. So what I'm thinking is what I want to do is kind of go back to all the people I've done business with over the last 12 months just to see where they're at in their growth of, well, I call it extreme valuation. How do they make their company more valuable? So what I want to do is kind of check back in with them, but in a nice way. So I'm curious, like, what would you do with your handwritten letters in that regard?
Okay. So what we're talking about is, handwritten notes with all the stamps to get people's attention. And a lot of people who are in business now have a gold mine in their previous clients. Would you agree about that, Mark?
I would, and but I've been frustrated by it because I've got a CRM full of 7,000 Vistage members. I've got about 3,500 of their cell phone numbers. But I notice when we send them electronic things, it's a want want. When it's a text message, they'll respond to me.
Okay, and we'll talk about how to make that even better than ever before in a moment. But first of all, the handwritten note cards to previous clients, all you have to do is just say this in the note. Dear Mark, whatever we did to lose your business, I'm sorry. I'd give anything just to have coffee with you. That's all. So somebody you lost,
Oh, I got you.
whatever we did to lose your business, I'm sorry. I'd give anything just to have coffee with you. So a CEO, Vistage CEO in California, after my meeting, remember he lost a big client about 3 years ago. Why do we ever lose them? I don't know. So he goes out, gets the cards, gets all the stamps, and writes a note. Dear John, whatever we did is your business. I'm sorry. I'd give anything just to have coffee with you. The CEO was so taken by this, he called him right away. Harry, I just got your handwritten note card, which I appreciate, but why did you put all the stamps on it? Here's the proper answer, Mark. Because you're worth more than one stamp. Duh. And he said, "What are you doing for lunch on Monday?" And I hope you're hanging on to your britches because for dessert, he got the business back that week. His first order was for $1 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Well,
anything you lost,
it's that whole
you
thing you were
did
talking about earlier. How do you treat people special? Let them know they're loved.
exactly. And when is the last time they ever got something like this? Can we say never? I guarantee it.
Okay, wait. There is one thing though. The people who have seen you speak before in Vistage, when you do it, they're like Boaz, right? And they go,
They're
unbelievable.
still, they're still going to be stopped mentally.
Yep.
They're still going to be stopped mentally. Then you send video texts. Would you agree, Mark, that these days people pay more attention quickly to text than they do to emails?
Yes.
Okay, so let's change that whole parameter. Send a 30 or 45-second video with no words in a text. You know, on our phone, where you take pictures, you just move that little thing to the bottom and you're taking a video. Just do a 30-second video. Let's say I'm doing it to you. Mark, I was thinking about you today and remember how I enjoyed working with you a year or two ago on the XYZ project. Whatever I can do to help you further, I'm right here. Have a great day. Bye-bye. You have an option now with the video at the bottom. You can do something with it. You can text it to somebody. So text it to people with no words. What they get, Mark, is a picture of me with an arrow in the middle. Everybody's forced to touch that arrow. Amazing. I get video text back. I love getting your video text. And suddenly we have a conversation going. That, again, people are not going to do. The average person is never going to think about this. They're going to want to add words. No, just a video text. That's all. Amazing responses to that.
Mm.
You took a moment to personally send that to somebody you did business with before. Suddenly they're thinking, what a nice person. He was a really nice person. They're seeing your facial expression. They're seeing your smile. You're enthusiastic. They're seeing all of that, which you cannot get in words, on a text, or an email. Am I right about that? You can.
Yeah, definitely. Not a doubt.
Yeah. Those are the ways to get back with people. And how long would that take? 30 seconds per contact. You know, how many could you do in a half hour? My goodness. Or
Yeah.
20 minutes.
No, that's good. I like that. Yeah, I'm going to give that a try. That sounds cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's just a matter of just keeping you in front of people. I'll be right back. Hold on just 1 second. Just 1 second.
We can edit this out. No.
Okay, I'm back. Anyway, it's just a matter of keeping you in front of people, not just your name, but you as a human being. You're a person. You're not words in a text or words in an email. And people lose sight of that. Let's just lose sight of that. And a 30-second video takes less time than sending an email. And how much time does it take to actually, print a message on a text? It takes more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm
So
curious
these
because
ideas,
what I do now is when people hand in sheets after I present like this, and it tells me like what is it that they're interested in, da da da. So what I'll do is I'll send them a text message saying it was great to meet you. This is Mark Barat, and then I'll say you requested a further discussion on this, and this. That kind of reminds me of what they're interested in, that type of thing. Do you want to set up a call? And I'd say about 50% of them respond immediately. The 50% that don't, at the end of the week, I send them a GIF of a scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the economist professor is standing around going, Bueller, like that. And about 40, it wakes the dead. About 40% of them respond in addition to that, saying, "Oh, I love that movie," da 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 da, that type of thing, and then they start that back up again. But there's a cohort that I never get to actually respond. It's like they're like letting life get in the way. And then when we try to go after them with electronic versions, it just doesn't work. So I'm kind of curious about what I could do to increase the supply. But I don't know about you, Boaz, but like I speak so often that by next week I'm off to the races with 45 other CEOs. So I don't bother like chasing down people that are like dragging their feet.
Yeah, and we also want to be respectful, with Vistage. We don't want to, overstep our bounds by
Yeah,
following up too much.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But these other ways are just interesting ways to test and see what happens. The video text.
Mm,
Video text. It's you as a person rather than words on a screen. There's words on the screen, that's a machine talking to another machine. But you doing a video, it's a human talking to a human.
mm,
It's just a different way of looking at things.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. This seems to be a common thread through certain types of presenters within Vistage. I don't fall into this category, but because I'm kind of an asshole. Like I have very little empathy. My empathy is really more for the greater good as opposed to individuals and stuff. So, um, but what I find is there's some that kind of remind us of our humanity, and I think you're one of those. So, maybe that's how we can kind of add value to each other's life. Is like Michael Lasso once told me that in theater, you fall into one of three categories as a human being: heart, head, and groin. And he said, so you're one of those three icons, let's call it. And typically you're showcasing two and you have a weakness is the third. And he took one look at me and he said, your head and groin. And the deal is you need to find more heart. So it's touching when I hear things like that. And it's, even though it's corny and it's left of center and all that stuff, I think it's awesome.
Most people look like most people. Texting, most people. Emails, most people. Video texts, handwritten note card. That's one person. It's not most people.
Yeah. Well, to lend some science behind what you're talking about is that we're the most collaborative species on the planet. So we are a social entity and we are kind of equal parts individual and groupish. So it's like
Yeah.
once we're acknowledged, and one of the greatest fears for human beings is to be alone. So
Oh, yeah.
knowing for some reason that you're not alone, ending the isolation, that's one of the reasons why I think Vistage is so awesome. It ends the isolation for people who are isolated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This
There's
is
even a
also
thing too,
realize.
if you can recognize the person that you're targeting to do business with is a human being. So,
Yeah.
and I think there's a thing about once they get over a certain level of success, everybody wants something from them. So it's like people don't necessarily want to do something for them. It's kind of how it
Oh,
goes. So it's like when you
exactly.
can. So I think what you're either doing is you're either, and I don't know if this is just an either or. I think you're either providing information that they don't know about, or you're doing it in a way that very few other people are willing to go to those lengths to develop a relationship. I would argue the best is the combination of the two.
Yeah, I agree completely. We're in the relationship business. We're in the people business. And the number one customer for most Vistage members is not the person outside their company, it's their own team members. That should be their number one customer. Make sure you're supplying those customers with what they need. And the thing they need the most is to feel important.
Well, okay, so this goes back to did you ever meet Ole Carlson?
Perhaps a long time ago.
Okay, so Ole was a chair for a while and then a very prolific speaker on leadership. And he talked about that one of his frustrations is he would walk when you do that ubiquitous walking through the manufacturing center with the new manufacturing has got a new piece of equipment. They look like a kid on Christmas, right? They're doing a little kid at Christmas dance, that type of thing. And but what he talked about was he felt it was his moral obligation to get the member to recognize the new piece of equipment is not an investment, it's a cost, and that the
Mhm.
employees are an investment, not a cost, because they mainly have that flipped. They see
Mhm.
employees as costs and equipment as investments when it's actually the other way around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I spoke for a company, I think in Cincinnati or whatever, several years ago, a Vistage company. They had gone through a very difficult time. They lost their biggest client. The company had to close down for like 9 months, completely closed down, stop everything. And when I was brought back to speak for the company, it was in celebration of them coming back to work. And the CEO, a lovely lady who had really done something special because all of these people came back. Like 40, 50 employees all came back 9 months later, every one of them. So I asked a couple of them privately. I said, you know, it was a tough part of your life right there where income stopped and everything. Why did you all come back? Why did you go get a job somewhere else? And they said, one by one, for years, she's been sending us handwritten notes home.
Oh,
Telling
crap.
us
That's
we're
awesome.
appreciating it. She had done that for years. She would always send notes to us. It's something we did. She appreciated it. We would have waited longer for her.
Wow. So picture, there was a company in I believe St. Louis. I'm presenting for them, and I don't know if you know Antarctic Mike. He's one of the more prolific speakers in the system too. What I noticed, because I'm a former chair member speaker, very few people have all three vantage points, right? As far as I know, there's only two of us in the system, myself and Severin Sorensen. But the idea is that I think we're getting an echo. We're getting an echo, Noah. You can eliminate it. Okay, cool. All right, so the deal is this company, I said, "Okay, well, what's the purpose of the company?" And I don't do a lot of that work in my presentation. My presentation is very eggheadish. It's very, like, knowledge that they don't normally get in other places. It's all about how to predict the future more accurately and how to increase the valuation of their company. It's very like a quant style, harsh, take them out to the woodshed, slap them around out of love type stuff, right? So, but this one company said, "Our purpose is to glorify God." And I was like, "Holy crap, that is corny as all get out," right? I said, "But the deal is do they got the human aspect of this right? 100%." So now they were very naive in other areas that we could add the sophistication with some advisory work. That was no problem whatsoever. Here's the main takeaway from that, that they have a 300 resume waiting list for people to be evaluated for a 100 employee company.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever seen something like that ever before. So it's just like it's the human aspect. Can you take that to the next level? It's almost like I was just talking to a bank in Kansas City that needs to modernize. And it's like, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to permeate a philosophical change in the employees and be able to get them kinda all rowing the same direction, because that's where Peter Drucker would talk about how culture eats strategy for lunch. So what happens here is, how do we get people to know whatever direction we're going in is in their best interest? Now, most people don't know what I'm about to outline for you. Mostly scientists know this, that 98% of all new ideas stink, right? And the dilemma is, when we come up with a new idea, they feel brilliant to us in the moment. Now, as scientists, they actually get paid to experiment to eliminate the 98% so they can get down to the 2% of what new scientific discoveries would be. For us, we're denigrated by running on a treadmill, doing things that fail. What we need is kind of an acid bath to sit back, take the ones that will fail and have them fail sooner. So what we have to do is actually produce what I call defensible due diligence. Like, if you were to go through due diligence today, would whatever initiative that you're putting forth, would that be defendable in due diligence? The answer is yes. We pursue it. If no, we don't. So, but the deal is that what you don't want to do is ignore the human aspect to this, because that's what people buy. So when people buy a company, they're not really buying the company, and they're not really buying the goodwill, they're not really buying the products, they're buying the employees and their philosophical attitude towards it. So how do we enroll them better? Like, I don't really call it like motivation or purpose work. I call it enrollment. How do we get them to know that, one, you have their best interests at heart, and you have some methodology to minimize mistakes? and then therefore we're pursuing the right things going forward as we reinvent the company to become what it isn't today and what it will be tomorrow.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. One CEO of a company about 70 employees did the following to add culture and all kinds of things to his company. Every Friday afternoon at 4:30, they closed up shop. No calls, no sales, no nothing. Every employee was given 2 note cards with all the stamps. And your job before you go home is to write 2 notes of appreciation. One is somebody outside the company, one is somebody inside.
Oh, jeez, it's
You have to
awesome.
write a note to somebody inside the company to tell them how much you appreciated something specific in the past week. They also handed out glasses of wine. You want red, you want white. Nobody took advantage of this. They put nice music on the intercom, and everybody sat down in a big room and all wrote 2 handwritten note cards. And that company did amazingly well. CEO showed me a picture a few months later of a wall in his office with 200 thank you notes for the Friday afternoon notes.
That's awesome. Very cool stuff. Love it. Well, listen, I really do appreciate your time, Boaz. So, like, I know you're
Pleasure.
a busy man. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with our audience. And let's do this again soon, okay?
It'd be a pleasure, Mark. Thank you.